our DCR website, and on this little sidebar on the left, if you click on nutrient management training under the nutrient management drop-down section, you'll see something that says certification, exams, etc. If you click the Virginia Nutrient Management Certification Exams drop-down on the right side, you'll see here we have two portions. One is for the agriculture exam, one is for the turf and landscape exam. We're on the agriculture track right now, just so everyone knows. And if you do want to apply for that exam, you click register now, and it will take you to the register page. If you have already applied to take the exam in the past, you know, you're resitting for it, you can still register here on the website as well. Once you fill out this online version of it, it will give you an exam application ID that you can put in here, and it will pull up your old exam application if you are reapplying for the exam. Even if you've already sat for the exam, we need another application. It's an abbreviated version of it, but we basically need it for a head count to see how many exams we need to print, how many people are going to be attending. So if you have this 10-digit number, you can put that in there. We'll have that for you. If you have questions on that, you can ask me for that. If you are taking the exam for the first time, you'll just click next here. You don't have to worry about the certified VA and planner number. Not number. If you are already a certified planner, such as turf, you click yes. If no, then you can just hit the next button, and it's pretty simple. It's just name, address, and then it won't let me go next because I have to fill out these asterisks here, but it'll basically be employment and education. Education can either be taking this training class or your formal education. If you have a 4-year degree, we will need some transcripts. They can be unofficial. I see someone asked where you can find that number. I have that in our database, so you'd have to request that for me. And that number is only if you filled out this online application before. If you filled out the paper version, it won't quite match this online one. So if you're filling out the online version for the first time, you can't look it up, so you're just going to have to go forward. And if you've already applied for the exam and you're doing this online registration one, just simply type in, when you get to the sections about work in education, type in already on file. So I'm going to just quick put in some information here to show you how the next sections will look. So these sections, present employment, if this is your first time filling out this form, please put your whole present employment here. If you have already submitted the application on paper-wise, just put already on file with DCR with previous app. And I think that should let you jump to the next section. Yep. And so there, then you just click through blah, 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 blah. Click through your options. So there's a couple of different options we have here. If you're looking to become CCA certified, and that's a certified crop consultant, you don't necessarily have to fill out the whole application. You can just say you're doing this for CCA purposes only, and then we tell the Mid-Atlantic CCA that either yes, you passed it, or no, you didn't. That's an option. You are applying to become a certified planner, or you already hold a certification through Maryland or Pennsylvania, which we have reciprocity with. So if you ever want to become certified in Maryland or Pennsylvania and you already are certified here in Virginia, then you can kind of jump through the process a little bit faster. But if you're applying to become a planner, which a majority of you would be hitting, then you'd hit next. Here, if you are using your college or university, you put your information there and you choose a file to upload those transcripts. If you are using our training and education, then you just skip that university version, and then you would put your information here about when you took the training. So, right now we're taking DCR, nutrient management, soils training, sponsored by the DCR. There are a couple of other courses that you can take that we do accept. The Agronomy Society has a really thorough online course that we can take instead of the soils course. Online, 112 through 13, 2026. And so this would be about 16 hours. And then you can click next. And here for your education experience, this is kind of everything else that wasn't covered. So if your current employment is, 6 months at a soil and water district, but you worked a year and a half at the DEQ, you could put that together, and that would be then the experience that you need. Because the way our training and certification is laid out is if you have a formal degree in agronomy, soil science, geology, anything kind of related to that, you would then need 1 year work experience in the fields of being a soil and water employee, working for the DEQ, working for the DCR, working on a farm, anything like that. And if you are using this current training as it, you would need more work experience to qualify for that. But it doesn't have to be that whole experience at one job. It can be 6 months here, a year and a half there. We're looking at the cumulative creation of your career and how it could help you potentially write plans. And so if you're not filling that out, you can jump to the next section. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? It has to be no, unfortunately. And then employment verification is basically saying, yes, I work for this. So I would say that I'm going to send this to my supervisor requesting that they say, yes, this person works for them. So this is saying Stephanie and her duties are related to nutrient management planning. You can type in your title here. My current, when I started working here to either the present or whatever you're looking to confirm, your supervisor's name and then their email, and it will send them a verification, which they would click yes, that you work there. And then you could submit that and it will go through. So that is kind of the quick and abbreviated version of our online application. There is still a paper one floating around, but like I said, I prefer this version. That way we can see things all nice and neat and not have to worry about relying on the mail. So if you've already completed the application and missed something like your transcripts, yes, you'll be notified. So in the next week or so, I'm going to be reviewing all the applications. I look at them either online or the paper versions when I go up to the Tappahannock office. And if I see something missing, I'll send you an email. And yes, you can absolutely go edit it. It should have sent you an email that will be able to go back in and edit it. If you can't find that email or can't edit it for some reason, let me know. And I can let our IT department know. They're very good about getting this system fixed up. So yes, you can certainly edit it if something's missing, and I will definitely look into not receiving that email. Okay, I will check with our department and see what is going on with our applications, but you should have received something saying, hey, you completed this. But yes, I look through every application, so you'll be hearing from me shortly. Just gonna go over quick and see if I missed anything. So if you have the ag degree, you can have 1 year job related experience in fields such as that, but we can work through other things. You need 3 years of experience if you are using this training course or short course for it. If you are taking the exam, it's 100 questions split into 2 parts. The first part is the core, which is closed book, and we're looking at a 70% on that to consider it passed. The practical is the second part, which is open book. The practical covers a lot of what we talk about next week. And when I say open book, you'll get fresh copies of the standards and criteria and the P index. Sorry, you can't bring your own. I know it would be really great to bring your tab version. And that's an 80% passing. It's a 3-hour exam. It's pretty much held the first Friday of every February in August. So if you miss this cycle, don't worry, we have it again in August. And the results are released, hey, by email now, within 60 days of the exam. So not by mail, trying to lessen the post office's burden. These are just exam tips, which we'll go over next week. If you do come to the plan writing course. If you haven't signed up for the plan writing course and you decided, hey, yeah, this is something I want to do, we also have that, I would say, as soon as possible to get your exam application in by the end of this week. And since the plan writing course starts next Tuesday, get signed up for that too. The nutrient management training section here, if you want to sign up for that, you would go under the plan writing and register now. The rest of this is kind of more related to once you actually become a planner. So all certification contact kind of runs mainly through Susan Jones, back especially when we got all the applications in that office. But you can contact me as well, and I should be able, especially if you applied online, to tell you what I can see or not with your exam application. So if you have any other questions about this, please don't hesitate to call me, email me, text at any time throughout the process. I'm here to help you with that. And I think with that, unless there are any other questions, which there were some in the chat, but if you can't use the chat box, again, please email me at any time or send a text message. If you having any issues throughout the training, let me know. Like I said, I'm going to send out the recordings of yesterday and today, along with some of the presentations that were updated tomorrow or whenever our wizardry people get it on the internet. If you're interested in applying for the exam, please do so by the end of this week. If you're interested in a plan writing course, sign up as soon as possible. And I think that is all I had for you this morning. I saw Steve joined us the very beginning of this morning. So Steve, when you and your assistant are ready, let me know and I can turn it over to you.
Get the mic on. I was in right here. So you're
that
ready
helps a
to
lot
go?
of times.
You
We're
wanna
double
start?
muted a lot.
Yeah, you want to start early then? So,
Yes, if you're
Oh.
ready. I mean, I can keep talking for another 15
Well,
minutes, but if we want to get this day going, I'm happy to turn
I
it
don't
over to you.
think we need to take a vote who wants an extra long lunch or longer lunch than
Right.
planned. I don't know.
Or end early. That's always the best to get out just that little bit early.
Now, this goes back, the last year, but Courtney McCombs is going to give my first talk.
Excellent.
So Courtney is, everybody hearing me? Good. Courtney is the soil analyst here in the soil testing lab. So ready to go. Let's see. I'm usually working in Zoom, not Teams. So
I know. Got to throw Microsoft at you.
Yeah. But it was easier. I'm going into sharing windows, and let's see, soil fertility. I assume this is, you can't see what I'm doing yet. So, well, am I
Hey,
sharing
but
now?
we see your PowerPoint. It's kind of still in the editing mode, but hey, look, there we go. It is in the presentations mode.
Okay. Uh, Still got the box on the side. I don't know if that's distracting. I guess that's good enough. I see
And
that.
I will monitor the chat. And so if anyone has any
Oh, good.
questions, I can jump in and, butt in and ask them. So you guys don't have to worry about looking at the chat or anything like that. I'll jump in with any questions that anyone has. Or like I said yesterday, if you're feeling brave, kind of wave the hand and then unmute yourself and jump in
Ooh.
there with a question yourself. I know. We're
All
blazing
right.
trails.
All right. Well, I will turn it over to Courtney, and then you'll have a break, and then I guess I know you won't start without me. So
Nope,
when I
really
get back.
can't. But thank you
All
for
right.
joining us, Courtney.
Yeah, here's Courtney.
Okay, good morning. Again, my name is Courtney McCombs. I'm not Steve Heckendorn. And I am, as Steve said, the lab and research specialist here at the Virginia Tech Soil Testing Lab. And I'm going to be talking with you this morning about some basic soil fertility. So let's go ahead to jump in. Maybe. Okay. So growing plants in soil is a complex situation. So there are plenty of things that can limit yields. There's also not much one can do about some factors. However, soil fertility is one factor that something can be done about and before problems arise. Therefore, one needs to learn how to manage it. Dr. Justus von Liebig was a German soil chemist in the 19th century and is recognized as the father of agricultural chemistry. He came up with a law of the minimum in which the yield potential will be constrained by the factor that is most limiting. With this barrel analogy, the rim represents a sufficient level for a given factor where it will not limit obtaining the maximum yield. On the left, the nutrient phosphorus is the most limiting. If one raises the phosphorus level, then on the right, nitrogen in this case would become the limiting factor. Virginia Tech uses this sufficiency level concept to provide recommendations. Okay then, so as far as nutrients go, how many can potentially limit growth? Well, traditionally, there are at least 16 essential elements required for all higher plant growth. In addition, I also show cobalt and nickel here because some now consider these to be essential, though this has not been proven for all situations. Please note that the footnote indicates that this information is mentioned on page 55 in the Mid-Atlantic Nutrient Management Handbook. Okay, there are two overall categories of nutrients or elements, the mineral and non-mineral. The non-minerals are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, which are the building blocks for organic compounds. If one includes nitrogen, then these four elements make up 95% of a plant's solid material. Plants get them from oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and hydrogen in water. An ideal agricultural soil has half of its volume as pore spaces for water and gases. The mineral category all basically come from solids in the soil that go into solution and then into the plant. The primary or major elements are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. A bag of complete fertilizer, such as 10-10-10, contains these three elements. The secondary nutrients are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. The three categories of non-mineral, primary, and secondary are sometimes referred to as the macronutrients, which leaves the micronutrients or trace elements, which are required in relatively very small quantities compared to the other elements. All are important. Some may be micro in amount, but not in need. Okay, and so we're looking at here are the mineral nutrients for alfalfa hay with a potential yield of 4 tons per acre. So in this case, the calcium may be called secondary, but not in the amount as compared with the major nutrient phosphorus. You see calcium, 107 pounds, and phosphorus is only 40. The measured micronutrients are less than a pound. Plant available forms of the non-mineral nutrients are carbon dioxide for carbon, the hydrogen cation, or called a hydronium ion when associated with a water molecule, and the hydroxide ion. The relative amounts of these two ions in the soil solution determine its pH. Dr. Liebig was also the first to associate the presence of hydrogen with acidity. And the diatomic molecule for oxygen is found in the atmosphere. Plant available forms for the mineral nutrients are the ammonium cation and nitrate and anion, and therefore nitrate is prone to leaching into groundwater. The orthophosphate anions and the potassium cation. The calcium and magnesium divalent cations with 2 positive charges, and sulfite and mainly sulfate anions for sulfur. For the micros, the anions are in blue and the cations are in red. The cations are retained with CEC and are all more available at lower pHs. A plant obtains all mineral nutrients from the soil, but the soil gets additions from fertilizers and other amendments. In order to obtain today's high yields, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium need to be supplied through additions of organic or inorganic fertilizers, and by adding calcium and magnesium through liming. Normally, there's enough sulfur and micronutrients already in the soil, especially where manure has been applied. The mobility within the soil depends on, number one, its charge, mono, di, or trivalent, 1, 2, or 3 net positive or negative charges. 2, the radius of hydration, or size, when water surrounds and adheres to the ion. A high charge with a small diameter gives a high charge density, which means high retention. And 3, the type of charge. Negative ions, such as nitrate, generally leach more readily. Phosphorus is an exception because it quickly forms in soluble compounds with calcium, aluminum, or iron. So it's best to place phosphorus fertilizer into the soil near germinating seeds, or at least within the root zone of a young plant. Soil testing is most useful for the nutrients that have less mobility in the soil and can build up within the soil. So here we're talking about the degree or strength of retention. This is the relative strength of retention for the cations. They are all positively charged. So next, look at how much of a charge, like the strength of a magnet. Sodium, if it's there at all, ammonium and potassium are monovalent or single charge, called base cations, and are held the weakest. Magnesium and calcium are divalent and are also base cations. Aluminum and hydrogen are the acidic cations, and by having the strongest strength of retention, helps soils become more acidic over time. Aluminum is trivalent, hydrogen is monovalent, but only a proton in size. Therefore, it has a very high charge density. Okay, so I just talked about mobility within the soil. Now for mobility within the plant. Mineral nutrients taken up from the soil are absorbed through the root system. Nutrients differ in their mobility in the plant. Mobile nutrients are elements that can move within the plant, and the plant has the ability to translocate the element from one part of the plant to another. Mobile nutrients generally move from older parts of the plant to the growing point to permit proper plant growth and development. Okay, so which are which? Note here that except for calcium, all of the primary and secondary nutrients are mobile nutrients within the plant. Actually, chlorine is a mobile element, but symptoms usually first appear on the younger leaves. And sulfur is somewhat immobile since upper, younger leaves tend to show a deficiency first. The top photo here is potassium deficiency in corn. Potassium is mobile, therefore it's taken away from the lower plant, and the older part of the plant is what looks bad. The bottom photo here is a manganese deficiency in soybeans. Manganese is immobile, therefore the newer top growth lacks it, and that is what looks bad. Okay, visual diagnoses of deficiencies can be risky, though generally it is a useful tool. And it can be confusing due to the confounding effects of more than one deficient nutrient. And it should be combined with soil and tissue testing before investing in additional fertilizer applications. The Mid-Atlantic Nutrient Management Handbook describes deficiency symptoms on pages 60 through 63. However, for images, you can go to the Plant Health Exchange or Ag PhD or do an internet search. But if you'd like images to carry around with you and don't happen to have old printed magazines or old field guides, then you might like a free mobile app such as this one that is designed for iPads, or this one, which is for iPhones or Android devices. Hey, pop quiz. Nutrient-wise, why is it good to core aerate a lawn? It's important for the infiltration of surface applied fertilizers, plus air and water to supply the non-mineral elements. And what are the non-mineral elements? Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, now we're going to take one nutrient at a time. And we're going to start with potassium. Nitrogen and phosphorus are covered in other talks. So here is a picture of potassium deficient alfalfa and corn. It's a close-up of the corn leaf here showing the potassium deficiency with the scorching or firing along the leaf margins. The yellow or browning chlorosis will start at the margins and move in towards the midrib. Corn with a potassium deficiency can show other symptoms as well. So, where would you first expect to see potassium deficient leaves on a soybean plant? Remember, it's a primary nutrient, and so it's mobile, and the lower, older leaves are the first ones to look bad. The top growth may look good. The symptoms are first appearing on the lower, older leaf edges. So unlike nitrogen and phosphorus, potassium does not form organic compounds in the plant. It serves more as a catalyst, and it is vital for photosynthesis and for protein synthesis. And for some time, it has been associated with several other benefits, such as reduced lodging and increases the winter hardiness and resistance to diseases. Potassium helps thicken and strengthen cell walls. Turgor is what makes living plant tissue rigid, pressure exerted by a fluid in the cell that presses the cell membrane against the cell wall. Lodging is when the stalk breaks above the ground and it looks like a windstorm came through the field. So, soils typically contain a lot of potassium, like 2,000 pounds per acre or more of potassium. However, Only a small amount of the potassium, probably less than 2%, is available for use by a crop during the growing season. Measuring only the plant available potassium is the challenging part to soil testing, and is a difference between an ag test and an environmental lab test. A test result of the total potassium is useless for a potassium fertilizer recommendation. So soil potassium exists in three categories. Plants take up potassium from the soil solution in the form of potassium ions. In turn, potassium in solution is replaced by exchangeable potassium. These two locations make up the readily available category. Certain layered clay minerals can fix or trap or sort of sandwich in some potassium, making it slowly available. This is why soil samples should be air dried and not oven dried. The third category that potassium is held in the soil is unavailable or extremely slowly available. Potassium found in minerals making up in rocks. Potassium can also be leached away from a plant's root zone, especially in sandy soil. Unlike nitrogen, potassium tends to remain where it is placed by fertilization. When it normally moves by diffusion from high concentrated areas to lower concentrated areas, which is a slow, short range process. Dry conditions are going to slow the movement, and high potassium concentrations will speed the movement. Potassium fertilizers are completely water soluble and have a high salt index. Placement too close to seed or transplants can result in plant injury. The risk of injury increases on sandy soils. Potassium stays more in solution as opposed to adhering to clay minerals. And with dry soil, due to concentration of the salts that are there, and with high fertilization rates. A comment that comes out on our soil test reports states that the total amount of nitrogen and potash, K2O, in a single application should be no greater than 80 pounds per acre. Banding is an effective placement for a starter fertilizer, but runs greater risk of getting it too close to the seed. However, row placement is more efficient than a broadcast application for low potassium rates and on soil with low potassium levels. So here are some examples of potassium fertilizers. Potassium chloride, KCl, is from the mineral sylvite and is commonly used. It also supplies the micronutrient chlorine, but don't use it if growing a crop sensitive to chlorine, like tobacco or potatoes. If that is the case, then potassium sulfate is good to use. Sulfomag or Kmag is a double salt that probably also has a trace amount of sodium chloride in it. Okay, so that finishes potassium. And now we're going to talk about the secondary nutrients. Secondary nutrients include calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. It's just as important to plant nutrition as the primary nutrients. Some plants may not take up as much. It's commonly applied as soil amendments or applied along with materials which contain primary nutrients. Okay, so again, some plants may not take up as much as other plants in absolute quantity and in relative amounts. Note here on this chart that the calcium levels are in brown. There's 175 pounds in alfalfa compared to 16 in wheat. In the blue, there's more magnesium than calcium in corn and cotton. And in red, tomatoes have more sulfur than either calcium or magnesium. Calcium and magnesium are similar, Both are divalent cations. Therefore, they have relatively low mobility in soil. There's probably around 10 times the calcium as magnesium in a soil. One, because most parent materials contain less magnesium than calcium. And two, magnesium is not absorbed and retained as tightly as calcium is. Okay, so just note here that there is a 10-to-1 ratio built into the same rating for calcium and magnesium. Okay. So your slowly available or unavailable forms are in these minerals here. Calcite and dolomite are both used as liming material. Calcitic lime will add the most calcium, but not add magnesium to the soil. And dolomitic lime, which is predominantly available in Virginia, will add both. And the readily available forms are on the exchange sites in the soil solution. The exchangeable forms are in equilibrium with the soil solution. Calcium is the dominant soil cation east of the Mississippi River with a slightly acid soil pH. It's a base cation, and generally the lower the percent exchangeable calcium, the lower the soil pH will be. Okay, so what are some benefits of calcium? Calcium reduces the soil acidity by displacing or bumping off aluminum from exchangeable sites to allow leaching or neutralization by lime, and lowers the solubility of manganese and aluminum by raising the pH. It also improves the root growing condition by increasing these listed items: microbial activity, molybdenum availability, and the availability and uptake of other nutrients. So when calcium is deficient, what you will end up having is poor root growth, with the plants turning black and rotting. Except for peanuts and some vegetables, a calcium deficiency seldom shows up in a field when it is limed to the proper soil pH. In general, a calcium deficient soil is acid, so keep the field limed to a proper pH. Dolomitic lime is typically the more readily available liming material in Virginia and will supply calcium along with magnesium. So here we have some calcium sources. Pure calcitic limestone has an assigned neutralizing value of 100. Dolomitic lime's neutralizing value can be greater than 100 due to magnesium's atomic weight being less than calcium's. Therefore, on a per weight basis, it can have more TMP, total neutralizing power. Gypsum is a good source for calcium when you don't want to raise the pH. Okay, so now we're going to talk about magnesium, or the lack of magnesium. So starting in the upper left corner and going clockwise, we have a picture of cotton with interveinal red color. In the middle, apples. Soybeans in the upper right. There in the bottom, we have corn. Are we sure it's not potassium deficient? Is it on the lower leaves? So magnesium shows whitish stripes along the veins and often a purplish color on the underside. So the other two pictures we have are wheat and then Chardonnay grapes. Magnesium deficiencies most often occur on coarse textured soils with their low CEC, acid soils where acid cations, hydrogen and aluminum, dominate the exchange sites, and areas of high rainfall, which promotes greater leaching. So here we have some examples of magnesium fertilizers. Again, dolomitic limestone being the most common source, but it is a slow-release magnesium fertilizer. If a quickly available source of magnesium is needed, then use a soluble salt, such as Epsom salts. Okay, now for the third and last secondary nutrient, sulfur. So you have pictures here of cotton in the top, and then wheat, and then corn on the bottom. Okay, pop quiz. What main factor determines whether a nutrient is mobile in the soil? It is the type of ionic charge, whether it's positive or negative. Soil testing is like looking into the plant's refrigerator, and nitrogen, sulfur, and boron are the milk. They can be there today, but soon not available. The cations are the other items in the fridge. And phosphorus is in the freezer section and should stay there unless the refrigerator is eroded away or the freezer section is stuffed beyond capacity. The plant available sulfur form is the inorganic sulfate sulfur anion with a negative charge. So it is not attracted to soil clay or organic matter by typical means and is subject to leaching. However, sulfate often accumulates in subsurface horizons where positively charged soil colloids have AEC, anion exchange capacity. Sulfate gets absorbed to clay with iron and aluminum oxide coatings, so accumulates in an argillic B horizon where clay accumulates, but most is bound in soil organic matter. So the sulfur cycle, which is shown in this figure, illustrates the relationship among atmospheric, fertilizer, and soil sulfur. Proper management ensures efficient use of sulfur with minimal loss by leaching or erosion. So some of the key stages of the sulfur cycle include the weathering and release of sulfur. Sulfur is locked in the rocks. Weathering breaks them down, releasing sulfates into the soil and water. Plants absorb the sulfates from the soil, incorporating the sulfur into amino acids and proteins. Animals get the sulfur by eating plants and other animals, passing it up through the food chain. When the organisms die, decomposers, bacteria, and fungi break down organic matter, releasing sulfur back as hydrogen sulfide or sulfates. So the atmospheric inputs come from volcanoes, burning fossil fuels, decomposition releases sulfur gases also into the atmosphere. And it comes back down to the earth via rain, snow, or just dust. There's also input of sulfur from the fertilizers that are added. Sulfur-reducing bacteria convert sulfates to sulfides, while sulfur-oxidizing bacteria convert hydrogen sulfide to elemental sulfur and then to sulfates that then make it available again. There is some that's lost by leaching, some sulfur lost with the crop removal each year. So what are some factors affecting availability? Well, the crop that's going to be grown. Some crops require more sulfur. The texture, is there an argillic horizon where clay has accumulated within 20 inches of the surface? And the amount of soil organic matter, where most of the sulfur is held. So here we have some examples of sulfur fertilizers. Ammonium sulfate is probably the most used, with its sulfur being immediately available to plants, unlike elemental sulfur. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the micronutrients. Here's the two most often seen micronutrient deficiencies in Virginia: zinc in corn, and manganese in soybeans. Remember that all microbes appear to be immobile in plants, therefore the newer growth shows the problem. It's not so common, but it is possible to go the other way to the extent that a micronutrient is too available and becomes toxic to a plant. This was probably helped by a low soil pH. So here is a list of the documented micronutrient needs in Virginia. Manganese is needed by soybeans and peanuts. Boron is needed, alfalfa, and certain vegetables, asparagus, broccoli, peppers, white potatoes, cotton, and peanuts. Zinc is needed for corn, small grains, and grain sorghum. Molybdenum, alfalfa, soybeans, broccoli, and cauliflower. My lab's soil test note number 4 gives elemental rates to apply if a micronutrient is deficient. The soil test notes are all available online. Okay, so micronutrients can be soil or foliar applied. Sulfates, chelates, and most organics are soluble and better adapted for foliar application as compared to frits and oxides. Foliar applications are sufficient to meet crop needs. And note that the solution fertilizers can form insoluble compounds with phosphorus. Also note foliar application is good after planting. So where can we get the micronutrients? Micronutrients can be added to other commercial fertilizers and or mixed into bulk blends. Banned applications of fertilizer materials containing micronutrients increases efficiency, which is true for any low application rates. Over application may result in toxic soil levels. Keeping the pH in proper range will also help prevent toxicity problems. Okay, here is a list of some micronutrient sources. Usually, the best way to correct a micronutrient deficiency is through a foliar spray or fertigation application. For boron, Solubor is for liquid application. It is 20% boron. Therefore, if 1 pound of elemental boron is needed, then apply 5 pounds of Solubor. For the metals, there's normally an inorganic sulfate salt, which would be a quick release fertilizer. There are fritzes, which are fused with glass and therefore in a slow release form. And there's typically a chelated version as well. It is worth repeating that there can be plenty of nutrients in the soil, but unless the soil pH is in the proper range, nutrients may not be plant available. Most of the essential nutrients are all relatively soluble and available to plant roots at a slightly to moderately acid soil pH. Okay, and here we have the extension website, which if you have not gone to, I highly recommend. There is a whole lot of information, not just on soils, but on all kinds of topics that you may run into or be interested in. There's different tutorials and just lots of information. I would also suggest going to our lab's website, which is www.soiltest.vt.edu. There's lots of information there as to how our lab works and all our soil notes, like I had mentioned earlier, and just lots of information. So that is all I have for you. I appreciate your attention, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. We really appreciate you taking the time to go through with us. And I know both Courtney and Steve will mention several times throughout their presentations that you look at the Mid-Atlantic Nutrient Management Handbook. If you are studying for the exam, it's a really good resource to look at. It's pretty helpful when it comes to a majority of the topics that we cover. It's where a lot of our knowledge areas are on that. All right.
Yes. So
Thank you.
Steph,
Yeah.
the second talk's usually a little longer, more slides, some
Do
go
we
quick.
want
What?
Do you want to start that one and then take a break, or take a break now?
Nah. No, let's take a break now. What time do you want to be back by?
Let's say 10:15. Everyone be back. Grab a cup of coffee, stretch your legs, and then we'll carry on.
Okay, 10:15.
Yep. All right.
See-
Thanks, everybody.
get
See you
back
back
then.
in 15 minutes or so.